Okay, so I realized a while ago that I had made a mistake. And so this is the Nora cardigan test knit. And this section here is a sleeve. And I didn't realize that I was supposed to continue with the established row in the chart. So I just started with the row 1, which has some yarn overs and some decreases. But I was supposed to do row 15, which is a cable. So it's a completely different row altogether. So I charted it out on the other sleeve, which is right here. So I'm going to do a little bit of knitting surgery. So what I'm going to do is basically unknit 2 rows. And there's going to be 2 giant loops, and then correct it. And the tension and everything worked, so there wasn't like a whole lot of slack there. But I'm going to show you how to do that. So basically, we're just going to ignore the working yarn. We're not going to be using it for a little bit. And so since I already purled it, there's 2 rows that I have to unknit or unpick or however you want to call it. So I'm just going to insert my needle into the row below. Let me zoom in a bit on that so you can see a little bit better. So it's going to go into the row below and slide it out. So it's going to make a big loop once I get enough of them done. It's kind of fiddly. Okay, so there's that. So I get into this one, slide that off, and that loop's going to get bigger stitch by stitch. And I'm going to come in from behind, because that's how it would be on my needles whenever I go to knit it. And I want to keep the markers in place too, so that's one of the reasons why I'm not just picking up the stitches below the row, because I don't want to lose my place with the charts. So I'm just kind of holding that a little bit with my finger, grabbing that, sliding it out. Eep. So this row that I'm unknitting right now was just the purls. So the stitch count is exactly the same, so I'm not really worried about there being like extra yarn whenever I have it all corrected. I was a little bit worried with the yarn overs in this row, considering that was supposed to be a cable row, but cables take some extra slack anyways, so I figured it was worth a try, and it was. Oop, almost went too far with that one. Oop. I don't know if you guys have been able to see all of those. I had the camera all messed up. I'm going to slide those down so we don't lose them. Okay, let me angle this a little bit. Okay. That's good. Oops. So if I would have thought about it a little bit more, I would have been like, hey, should have been the same row, but I was eager to get started, so I just started with the first row of the chart, and then I confirmed it with some of the video tutorials. I'm like, oh, okay, my bad. But the more you knit, the more comfortable you get with like how the stitches fit together, because you gain an understanding of how it all works, and then it's not so bad. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and leave that one. And so now I'm going to flip it over. Wait, no, I'm not. I don't need to. So I'm going to be going back the other way and undoing the yarn overs and decreases. So this was a SSK. So we're going to pull that out. and slide it back over, get that to unsplit, and then slide that over to the left needle, just like we would if we were doing an SSK. Why was there only one? I might need to do more. Hold on. Yep, I do. Okay. So I need to do one more stitch on this. And I'll just remember to put the marker back. Okay. Okay, so I'm trying to get these two SSK stitches. Alright, so we got them. Okay. We do want to keep track of which loop is what. Oh, those are the ones I already got. Excuse me. And I do like to kind of keep the tension on there because then you can see where you need to stick the tip of the needle. So it's not an awful big section. If it was the whole row, I would have just unknit the whole thing from the working yarn instead of creating these loops that I'm going to be using to fix it. And these were just knit together, so they're a lot easier. You just stick them into both of them and you don't have to reorient them. And then there's two more SSKs. Beep. Now I got too much there. There we go. Let me go ahead and zoom out so I'm not all over the place. There, that might be a little bit better. So I know whenever I was beginning to knit, this would have been an absolute no way. Like, I would not have been able to do this. But if you just take a deep breath, be calm about it, it can be done. And the same goes for even doing like repairs on sweaters. And, oh, I don't want to remove that. I want to transfer it. Okay. Yarn overs. There we go. This yarn is kind of splitty, but it's way softer than it looks. It's Malabrigo Sororo, and it has flax in it, some wool, and silk. So it has a really soft hand. It's going to be really nice for the cardigan too. I was really pleased that the gauge worked out as well as it did. I was a little worried that it was going to be thicker. Almost there. Okay, so we're going to transfer that. My cat's trying to break in. don't know if you can hear her little meow. She doesn't really meow very loud. Now I'm a little bit confused because oh, that was a foundation row. But was there yarn overs? Where's the other two? Well, I'm not sure, but that's okay. So, this was the last one that we just did. And we're going to do some cables. So, I typically knit Portuguese style. So, that means that the yarn is typically either over this or under, and I have this needle over top of the left needle. But I'm going to do continental for the repair. Do not want to lose that. Okay. So we'll figure that out later. So different knitting in a different style, but it works. I got a split there. And I am doing a cable, and it's in the middle of this marker, so I do have to remove the marker and then put it back once I work the cable. It's a pretty small cable too, so I'm really lucky that it's one of the ones where you don't need a cable needle. So I'll zoom in a bit for that. So these two are going to go in front of those two. So I'm going to pick them up in the front. And then I'm going to kind of like pinch the stitches below it so they don't go anywhere. And slide those right back on. Then slide those two on. And then I can work them. Let me get the tension right. So we have one. Let me get the stitch. It's kind of, it wants to go back. So it's covering the third one. There we go. Two. There we go. Oh, and I'm going to place the marker back. Alright, so there's that. And then it's just knitting until the next cable. Alright, so now we're at the next one. We're doing the same thing. We're going to slide these two off so I can remove the marker for the chart repeat. Slide them back on. These two are passing in the front. I'm going to grip it, pick it back up, slide that back on. I do kind of like to keep my thumbnail there so that way it does keep them separated a bit more. Especially with a single ply. Oop, and place the new the marker back on. Sorry if I was going off camera again. Ugh. Okay, let me zoom out so that way it doesn't happen more. There we go. You can tell I'm not used to knitting continental, but at least I can. Whenever I started knitting a through, so I do that sometimes if I'm like really, really low on yarn, like I'm running out playing yarn chicken. Let's see. 5, 6, 7, 8. One more cable to do, so set that. Now my loop is almost out since we're almost done fixing. So it's starting to get a little tangled up in my fingers. So let's get that out of the way. So there we go. So 1. That was like right in the middle of that. 2. Place the marker back. 2. So there's might be some slack, and I can just adjust that and put it into the other stitches. I just got to pull it a little bit, which is totally okay. So I think there's one more. Let's see where the other one's coming out. Yeah. So I have that much slack to pull through. So I'm just gonna like stretch that a little bit. I have like a bent up sock needle. And so what I'm gonna do is just go into all these loops one at a time and just slowly pull them and see how the loop, all the slack is getting distributed. So I'm not pulling very tight, because a little bit of the tension goes a long way. So just until it gets smaller and smaller. I may have to go all the way across, and that's okay. This doesn't take very long at all. But you don't want it to be super tight, because then it kind of feels like whenever you first start knitting after you cast on, sometimes those stitches are really, really snug on the needles. A little bit more. Also, this will get distributed a little bit more whenever I go back and purl the other row. Almost. Okay, cool. So all the slack is distributed. Nothing has fallen off the needles, which is amazing. Okay, so, oh man, there's more slack. Crap. Oh well. Yeah, I should probably fix it. Oops. I originally started doing this with like a little crochet hook, and that wasn't going to work. Oh, there's a whole other stitch there. Okay, let's pull that way so we don't drop anything. Oh, I should still do that while it's on the needle part and not on the cable, because the cable is a lot thinner. And that'll just make them all wonky, like broken piano teeth. Stitch marker's kind of messing with it a little bit. Okay. All right. So now we can take the first loop that we unknit, and this is going to be all purl stitches. So it'll be a bit more simple to deal with. This is just going to look awkward to a bunch of people because I'm just going to be holding it like this. Because this is kind of how I purl Portuguese style, as far as it being like in the front like this, except I don't have to pinch it because I'm controlling the tension with my right hand. Okay, just gonna move that down, move some of these up. Okay, so my loop is almost out. I still have a couple more stitches. Just one more now. And that's going to be a little bit tricky, but we can do this. Got it. And that should be the working yarn. Heck yeah. All right. So that is a way to do knitting surgery. So now instead of all the yarn overs and decreases, we have the cables where they need to be. And it was in between the chart repeats. And yeah, so hopefully if you need a little bit of confidence to do something like that, that is one of the ways to do it. And hopefully it helps somebody.